I'm going to start with my first procedure. Uh, the first law. Now, what is this exactly? Law states any object remains in a state of rest or a uniform motion along a straight line until it is compelled to change the state by applying external force. Remember, what is the concept? State of rest or in uniform motion. State of rest means it should remain, body should remain rest, or it should remain a uniform motion. Uniform motion, initial and final velocities, they should remain same. That is the uniform motion. Consistently, they should move with a same velocity. That is uniform motion. Along the straight line, they should go in a straight line. They should not go zigzag or some other types of, it should not be there. Moment should not be there. Here we will consider only a straight line. Now, until it is compelled to change its state by applying external force. That means it is not going to change the state by applying external. Unless and until external force is applied, it is not going to change the state. This is what the first law states. Any object that remains in a state of or uniform motion along a straight line, it is going to remain same uniform motion, same state of rest, unless it is compelled to change the state by applying external force. Now, just slight explanation over here. If any object in state of rest, then it will remain in rest until external force is applied. It is going to state of rest until external force is applied to change its state. Similarly, object will remain in a motion. Object will remain until any external force is applied over to change its state. When external force is applied, only then it is going to change its state. Whatever state, initial state may be. It is going to change only when external force is applied. This is what the Newton wants to say in his first law. All objects resist into changing their state. In other words, what he is telling that all objects are going to resist to in changing their state. State is they are going to resist whenever the state is going to change. Suppose it is moving with this fixed velocity or same velocity. If there should be external force that should be applied, so its velocity will change. But during that time, it is object is going to resist. It is not going to accept as it is. The state of object can be changed by applying external forces only. This is very important. By applying external forces. Only part is that external forces should not be applied. No internal forces. The force should be applied externally. This is more important. Now just I will give an example. So that will help you for understanding purpose. People standing in bus. When bus starts its moving suddenly, this happens what? When people and bus both are in rest. But bus is not moving. But when bus starts moving, the legs of person start moving along with the bus. But rest portion of his body has a tendency to remain rest. Because this person falls backward. He is not alert. Just remember, person why he falls? He is not alert actually. He falls backward. He is not alert. Now, another part what happens? Second is the person standing in moving bus falls forward when driver applies brake suddenly. You can observe that when driver is applying brake, person falls. Why this happens? Now bus is moving. Person is standing. It is also in motion along with the bus. But when driver applies brake, the speed of bus decreases. As suddenly, or bus comes in state of rest. When speed decreases, so suddenly it is going to come at state of rest. But in this condition, legs of person which are in contact with bus come in rest while rest of his body have tendency to remain in motion. Body remains in motion. Legs are coming in rest. As a result, person falls forward. He is not alert. This is a simple example in everyday life. In first part, what we have seen, in this first example, what we have seen, person falls backward. Person falls backward on bus starts. In second, in a moving bus, person falls forward if brakes are applied. Backward when bus starts, and it is forward when brakes are applied. These are two examples where body resists the change in its state. These are two practical examples which I have explained to you. Very simple. Another example I will try to give you wet clothes over a laundry line. If jerks are given so that they get dried quickly, but droplets of water, what happens? These droplets of water from the pores falls on the ground and reduce the amount of water in clothes so that they get dried quickly. But this happens when suddenly cloth are made in motion by giving jerk. Water droplets have tendency to remain rest. They are separated and they fall down. So just remember, cloth are made in motion. They are made in motion by giving jerk. But water droplets are remaining in rest. They remains in rest, so they get separated. This is another example. Now hammer example. in everyday life, practical, physically, where force is applied on a hammer is tightened wooden handle by banging the handle against hard surface. What happens when handle of hammer is struck against surface? Handle comes in rest, where hammer over its head had tendency to remain in motion. Thus, some after jerks, it tightens over the handle. Just remember, what happens when hammer is struck against surface? Handle comes to rest, while hammer over its head has tendency in motion. Thus, some jerks. We have observed some jerks are given in a backward direction. We have replaced jerks. It tightens over the handle. We are getting jerks at the handles because the hammer is struck. Handle comes in rest, while hammer over his head has tendency to remain in motion. But the handle has a tendency. Hammer over its head has a tendency to remain in motion. So heads remain in motion. Handle comes in rest. As a result, some jerks are observed. This is the another example in our daily life. Now, inertia, property of object. Why inertia is a concept? This first law is also called as law of inertia. Just remember, this is also called as law of inertia. The property of an object because of which resists to get disturbed at its state is called as inertia. This is very important. Resist to get disturbed at its states. In other words, natural tendency of object that resist change in state of motion or change in rest. What we learned in first law, that is same. Resistance to change in motion or change in rest of object. This resistance is also called as inertia. Just remember one thing. First law of motion is also called as law of inertia because the concept where resistance for the state in motion or in rest is given, this concept is known as inertia. Now, next part what we'll see is what is mass and inertia, how they are related to each other. Inertia of an object is measured by its mass. Inertia is directly proportional to the mass. This means that inertia increases with increasing mass and decreases with decreasing mass. Increase with increase, directly proportional. What we call directly proportional. As mass increases, inertia increases. As mass decreases, inertia decreases. A heavy object will also have more inertia than lighter one. Naturally, heavy object with more mass is having more inertia than the lighter one. Now, this is another example. Here, just the coin is there, a glass. When cardboard is flicked, coin falls into the glass. This person is flicking this cardboard. This cardboard is going to flick. The coin over here, it drops. Why? Because cardboard is moving, but the coin, remains its state of rest and it falls due to gravity. And gravitational force is acting on it. Everybody knows that. Here, what happens? Cardboard moves, but the coin drops in a glass because it is going to remain in state. Here, external force is applied, so its motion is observed, but coin should remain in its states. No motion is observed in case of coin, so it remains or it drops in the glass. Now, last time what example I have given? Bus moves suddenly, passenger jerk backward. If bus is moving, passenger, what happens? Passenger jerks backward. Because the top, when bus is moving suddenly, naturally, last time what we have seen. Why they are going to jerk backward? Because their body, legs are in motion, but the top portion of the body, it tries to remain in rest. As a result, they get a jerk and they move backward. Now, another example of football we have given. If object is raised, it will stay at rest unless net force acts on. Now, what happens? Net force. The object will be in motion. It will stay in motion unless net force acts on. Whenever football is kicked, unless until it is kicked, it is going to remain in a state of rest. So, the stay at rest unless force acts on it. जब तक इस पर force नहीं आता है, वो the object rest में रहने वाला. It is going to remain in state of rest only unless net force acts on it. Force should be acted. There should be action of force. इस पर force act होना चाहिए. Action of force should be there on this particular ball. Only then the ball which is at rest, it is going